Forrest. At the old ball game. Hey!
Hello, welcome to the Vintage Baseball Corner. I'm Chris. It's been a couple of months since my last video, so I'd like to welcome everybody back that has joined me before. And any of you that have not seen previous videos, welcome to my channel. We're going to talk a little bit of vintage baseball cards mainly. I'll try to weave in a few stories, some stats, some player information, just to try to make things interesting. This is not a channel where you're going to see me rattle through 50 or 60 cards in 10 minutes. What we're excited about today is today's a 55 card PSA Vintage submission that has just come back this week. We're just digging into it. The results have been fantastic. I've seen the grades. Four of us submit cards in this, myself and 3 friends. We all have different collecting styles. As much as I'd love to keep the card secret for a blind reveal, one, I'm not very disciplined about not looking, and the other guys are wanting to see and know their grades as well. So I'm going to partially blame it on them, even though it's really my lack of discipline. That said, we're going to get into that. I think you're going to enjoy it. There's a lot of great cards in there. We're just going to kind of jump in and see what happens. Some quick background on it. We submitted at the end of July. I didn't mail it to PSA until mid-August. And it took them about a week and a half to get it logged in to start the clock, if you will. It was a 70 business day special coming up right out of the National. So I understood why it was a little bit longer than normal. And it came back in 54. So 54 days business days was excellent. The original estimated completion date was December 5th, and we still haven't gotten to that point yet. So happy with that. But let's get to enjoying some cards, and we'll have some fun doing this. I do want to note that if this starts to go long, I may break this into 2 separate videos. I have several 75 and 76s back-loaded towards the back end, if you will. And I can always break that into a separate video if need be, so this one doesn't get too long. But let's get to the cards now. All right, time to look at some cards. As many of you know, I always add a few friends to the backdrop here so that to kind of overlook the process. Today I have gone with 6 of the 8 nominees for the Classic Eras Hall of Fame ballot. The committee is going to announce their decision on December 8th. These 6 gentlemen are being considered, along with Vic Harris and Josh Donaldson from the Negro League era. But I thought I'd go through these with you real quickly. I'm going to start off with Ken Boyer, the St. Louis Cardinals. Here's his card with Mickey Mantle as a rival All-Stars. We'll just see if we can't show it to you like this here. From 1960. So that's Ken Boyer, third baseman with the St. Louis Cardinals. He was also the MVP in 1964. Next up, Tommy John, probably better known for his surgery than anything else. The first pitcher to ever have Tommy John surgery and therefore have it named after him, repairing his ulnar collateral ligament in his elbow. John pitched from 1963 to 1989, a full 14 years after his surgery was he able to pitch. Ended up with 288 wins. I think he's going to make the Hall. Whether it makes it this time or not, I'm not sure. To me, the odds-on favorite to make it is Dick Allen or Richie Allen here. This is his 1964 rookie card. He debuted in 63, played with the Phillies, with the White Sox in the early 70s, was the 1972 MVP, and was just a terror at the plate and one of the most feared hitters in the league during his time. Next up, we've got Luis Tiant and Steve Garvey. I picked the 1975 card for both of them. Tiant, 75 is apropos for him because he was just absolutely dominant in the 75 World Series. He pitched 25 innings in 3 starts, went 2-0 with a no decision against the Reds, and kept the Red Sox in the World Series that year. Was just really, really good. At that point and had a really nice career. Unfortunately, Mr. Tiant just passed away recently. I'd like to see him get in. I'm just not sure if this is going to be his time. Steve Garvey, a longtime first baseman for the Dodgers. Again, I think he's probably falls a little bit short right now, but definitely a interesting candidate because he was considered one of the best players of his generation, yet some of the stats that are viewed heavily today don't match up quite well with Garvey and today's standards. I'm not necessarily sure that's very fair because he did what was expected of him, but we'll leave it at that. One other quick note. Notice both of these cards have the yellow over red border color scheme. All of the All-Stars had this same colors, minus one exception, which we won't get into here. You can see Garvey having the All-Star insignia. The ones that were All-Stars all had their name in yellow, where other players who still had that, the same color combination had their name in black. I just found that interesting, something I really didn't know for many, many years. And then lastly, I'm going to show you Dave Parker. 74 is his rookie card. I do not have it graded, so I figured I'd just show you a base copy real quickly, and then I went ahead and chose his 75 card for the stand. Again, the Cobra, massive arm in right field, won a MVP award, 2 batting titles, an All-Star Game MVP award, was definitely considered one of the best players of his time. And I think he's got a decent shot at getting in, and possibly even this year. To be honest with you, I'm more of a, not a let them all in kind of guy, but I would not be disappointed if let me get out of here just a little bit. If they inducted all 6 of these guys, I think all 6 have strong arguments. They're not going to do that, but at the same time, I think all could be deserving. And I think the Hall at 1.5% of MLB players is a little on the small side, and I'd like to see it closer to 2%. Worst case scenario, even 2.5%, but 2% I think would be a more than fair number, and it would allow some really, really star players from this era to get in. Now we've got the cards out of the box, the big box, and these are the 2 boxes that it came in. I love these long boxes. I believe they hold 50 slabs and are lined with soft material. I really like them. I haven't figured out exactly how I'm going to use those because I have some cases for other graded cards, but I really like those and I save those boxes. So let's just kind of take a quick look here. We'll get these unboxed. The small box here. I'll throw those boxes to the side. Basically gives us just the last handful of subs all nicely wrapped there. And we're going to take that, move over here. And again, here's an example of what the big box looks like. Just really, really nicely fits slabs perfectly. I like it a lot. So I'm going to take these and we're going to just do a quick lift like this. I'm sorry, and leave us a nice brick, if you will, of graded cards. All right, the cards are unboxed. They're stacked up over off to the left, just off camera, but ready to go here. We're going to start with my buddy James cards. We're going to start with a 1966 Pete Rose, a good shot of young Pete. Here, cards had a lot of wear, seen a lot of love over the years, but that's the beautiful thing about old vintage cards is they can still look really nice even with all their flaws. Obviously, Pete was the all-time hits leader, Cincinnati icon, and just recently passed away, so rest in peace, Pete. I never met Pete, but I did have an opportunity to meet and hang out with Pete Jr. Many, many years ago, back when I believe Pete was still playing in the minor leagues at the time. Basically met at a fundraiser, hung out the whole evening. Really had a lot of fun. Pete Jr. was a fun guy and good to hang out with, and so that was about as close as I can get to Papa Pete. Let's put that right up here. Next, we're going to go with the Babe Ruth Special from 1962. They did a 10-card Babe Ruth subset, or sub-series, if you will, within the set. This is a card of him giving his farewell speech. This one also is one of the green tint versions. And for whatever reason, I believe it was the second series, Topps initial printing of it had a green tint to it. I believe it was cards from 110 to 196 or somewhere close to there. That was later corrected. There's not a whole lot of price difference between them in general. Now, there may be some exceptions to that on specific cards, but in general, there's not much of a premium on either green tint or no green tint. But PSA does make the designation on the slab just to for master set purposes, I guess. People want to collect one of each. But this one got a VG3. I actually had it. It's got some pretty heavy corner wear. I had it as expect a 2 and hope for a 3, and we got the higher end of that on a 3. Let me just show you real quick. Actually, I need to stop and come back to this. The back of this card shows record set by Babe Ruth, and this was in 1962. I'm just going to get this angled right a little bit, avoid some of that glare, let you take a look at some of those records. Many of those we know, many still stand, some have been broken, such as the all-time RBIs with Hank Aaron, and the home runs as well. I did one I did notice was most home runs in a week was 9. I'm not sure if that's since been broken, but still a very interesting record. And Babe was just heads above everybody that played, and back in his day, and that included his teammate and one of the best ever in Lou Gehrig. Babe was just a true icon of the sport. All right. Next up, an icon of a different sort. This is a 1967 Bob Uecker in a 2. This one's got well-loved corners for sure. It does have a little bit of a wrinkle near his right ear on the left side of the card. So lots of love here, but Uecker was known more as a personality and a broadcaster than he was a player. He is in the Baseball Hall of Fame as a broadcaster. He is still the broadcaster for the Milwaukee Brewers in 54 years and counting. As a play-by-play guy for the Brewers. Bob's been in movies. He was in beer commercials in the 80s. He was a frequent and loved guest on the Johnny Carson show, The Tonight Show, and appeared on that show more than 100 times. So, and then most of us know him as the, very funny broadcaster in Major League, the movie. So just an iconic figure in a different way, but definitely a baseball lifer. And one other quick note, if you'll notice on the back here, I don't know if we can zoom in or not, 1957, Bob made an appearance in Evansville, which if you've seen my previous videos, you'll know that's where I'm from. So he would have played in Bosse Field, which is a ballpark that I played my high school and college years in, and still stands to this day as the 4th oldest ballpark in the country. But Bob was a member of the Evansville Braves back in 1957. So I kind of want to mention that. Next up, a Hall of Famer in Casey Stengel. Hall of Fame as a manager. One of the things that I didn't really know a whole lot about Casey is that he had a long playing career. He began his playing career in the minor leagues in 1910. Played in the major leagues from 1912 through 1925, and had a career WAR of 20. For those of you keeping track of WAR, he's most famously known. He bounced around the majors and the minors as a manager from 25, all the way up to 65. But he caught on in 1949 with the Yankees and led them to 10 pennants and 7 World Series titles. And then even left the Yankees after 1960 season and winning the pennant, and took over the new franchise of the New York Mets and was their manager from 1962 to 65. This is a 65 card in an EX Mint 6. It's a really, really nice looking card. Very great color, great surface. Centering's off a little bit, but still presents very well. And this was the last season that he managed in the big leagues. But a Hall of Famer in Casey Stengel. Next up, a Hall of Famer we all know, and not much needs to be said about Willie Mays. This is a 1962 post in a hand cut. It got a good 2. To be honest with you, I really had no idea. Half of these that I've seen come back authentic, so I don't really know exactly how they grade these hand cut cards. But James is happy with this one. I actually picked this up at a local card show for him. And because he collects a lot of those old postcards and some different cards like that. Again, not much needed to say about Willie. I will say that I really do, and these again are blank back cards, but I do appreciate the time that I was able to spend with him. If you haven't seen my previous videos, I did a video on his trip back to Rickwood Field. I believe it was 2002, 2003. Now, I've done the video, talked about it, and can't remember all the details, but I was fortunate enough to spend a good 3 days with Willie. Took him to some places around Birmingham, took him back to Rickwood Field where he played as a 17-year-old, and was fortunate enough to spend 3 hours sitting in the press box at Rickwood with just 6 or 7 of us listening to him tell stories. Unbelievable time, something I'll never forget and can never duplicate. Moving on to 59, Brooks Robinson, Hall of Famer, also known as the Human Vacuum Cleaner. This card's really, really nice. To be honest with you, I had it, expected a 6 and really hoped for a 7. I thought this had a better shot at a high grade, and a little disappointed in the 5. The centering is off top to bottom a little bit, but it's 74-26, which still would max out at a possible 7. Just really sharp card. A few corner touches here and there, but and maybe there's a couple little spots that I kind of noticed here looking at it on the right border. Very minor stuff, but sometimes a few minor things can add up to create the same grade that one major flaw or one sizable flaw would give you. But we got a 59 Brooks Robinson. This one belongs to James's cousin Nick, and it's a really nice card, nice pickup for him. So there's our first 6. We're going to move forward here. I'm going to start replacing some of these cards on the stands. Next up are my buddy Dave's cards. We're going to start off with a 76 Johnny Bench. This is an iconic card, iconic photo, if you will. Just awesome. One of the best one of my favorite baseball cards of all. This one got a 4. Some bottom corners and edge wear got it a little bit. I think there were some minor surface scratches as well. You combine all that, you get a nice looking 4. I thought it had a shot at a 5, but at the same time, just a beautiful card and a great one to own. Next, we'll take down Babe and show you a very young Reggie Jackson. 1970 All-Star. This is a really, really nice card. Beautiful color. The front looks just fabulous with just minor corner touches. There is the back is kind of off-white and maybe a little bit too dark. I don't know if you want to call that dirty or whatever, just from probably people handling it over time. The edges kind of get the white border, just get a little toning, if you will. So maybe that was part of it. I thought it had a shot at a 7. 6 was the expected grade, but you can always hope for a good result there, and that's certainly not a disappointing result at all in that 6. Next, we got a really nice card of 69 Ernie Banks. We got a 4 on this one. Definitely corner wear is what got us here. The surface is really nice. The color's great. I don't know if you can see the top left corner, but it's got a little bit more damage even than the others. So 4 to 5 was right in the neighborhood of where I thought it could be. You kind of hope that maybe you get lucky with that 5, but at the same time, it's got very typical centering issues for 1969. But just great card. Ernie Banks, Hall of Famer, 500 home run club member, and just always smiling and had a love for the game. And famous for the saying of "Let's play two," and that smile doesn't show any better in any card than this one right here. So, got a nice one there. I'm going to slide these and now I'm going to just cause a big old domino fall here. I'm going to slide these just a little bit. Pardon me. All right, next up, Pee Wee Reese for Dave, 1958. This one got a 4.5. This is a really nice looking card. I believe he picked this up at a card shop and somewhere around Knoxville, Sevierville, Tennessee. I think there's a card shop that he really likes over there. I wish I knew the name of it. I'd give him a shout out. We do have some touches on the corners, just light wear on them. There is a light indent, and I don't think that you're going to be able to see it, but I can try to show you. Almost like a fingernail imprint, about a 1/4 to 1/2 inch, right down around his chin and going down. Just a light indent, nothing major, but still enough that it's going to affect the grade. So Very, very nice initial eye appeal on this one. It's a great card for Dave. Dave's grandfather and Pee Wee Reese were friends. And Dave's grandfather lived in Louisville. So as a kid, Dave would go visit his grandfather, and his grandfather would take him over to Pee Wee's house. And they would visit. So Dave has got very fond memories of Pee Wee, in his post-playing career, obviously. We even had a few older cards of Pee Wee's that he got autographed when he was young, and sitting in Pee Wee's living room. And we ultimately had those great authenticated and graded, and he's happy with those. I believe it was a 56 Topps, a 57 Topps, and a 55 Bowman, if I recall correctly, that he had signed as when he was young. So again, great memories for Dave with that card. Got a 4.5 on it. I had it between 4 and a 5. So right there, kind of where we expected, but just a really, really nice looking card, especially on the initial eye appeal. Same with this one. This is a 58 Willie Mays. We got a 3 on this one. It's got a little bit more wear, a little bit more corner wear on it. The centering is off top to bottom. I measured it at 83/17, so it did not affect the grade. It would have qualified for as high as a 5. But at the same time, just you combine that with some soft corners, and you can't really see it. Again, the slab sometimes hides some flaws, but there is a decent bit of snow, especially around his hat and just right above his hat. So there's some surface snow there, some light surface wear. I think a 3 is a fair grade. I was holding out hope for a 4, but 3 is definitely a fair grade on this card, albeit it does look very, very nice when you first pick it up. We got 2 more cards for Dave here. Next one is a 61 Ernie Banks. We got an EX Mint 6. Again, another really nice looking card. Centering's off a little bit left to right, but it's got a really nice surface, good color. It does have the one fisheye up to the top of his head, and that may have held it back a little bit as well. I had this one in that same expect a 6, hope for a 7, and when we got the 6. So while we weren't necessarily exceeding my expectations, we were hitting them pretty darn consistently here with this group of cards. That's just a very nice looking Ernie Banks. This 61 is one of Dave's favorite sets. I've come around on it. It was one of my least favorite for the longest time, but I'd kind of rate it in the middle of the 60 sets. Maybe 4th, 5th, somewhere in that neighborhood. But I'm coming around on it and have picked up a few. But just a nice looking back on this card. Again, see if I can get some of that glare out of there for you. Ernie Banks, great Mr. Cub. Gotta love him. And lastly, another 61 for Dave is, again, another 6 in EX Mint, Willie McCovey. Same kind of thing here. Left to right, a little bit off. Beautiful card, beautiful color. Surface is great. Just some, some slight fraying on the corners. I really thought this one had a shot at a 7. I put down expect a 6. I tend to temper my expectations pretty well. But at the same time, I thought this one kind of had that outside shot at hitting the 7. And it's just a really, really nice photo, a nice picture of Willie. Willie was a big old slugger, left-handed hitter, definitely overshadowed by his teammate Willie Mays. But he is also a member of the 500 Home Run Club and a Hall of Famer, and someone that we should not overlook when thinking about the best players of the 60s. All right, that's the last of my buddy Dave's cards. We'll stick Willie right here. I'm going to go ahead and take these down. Maybe that'll speed things up a little bit here. Next up, Richard's cards. First card is a 1969 Gaylord Perry with the last name in white letters. This is one of the white letter variations. Most of those are known as because of the Mickey Mantle variation, which is much, much more expensive than his standard yellow name. But that series of cards they printed some variations. I don't know why. Later corrected them, so you have both. And the white does carry a premium. So this is a nice looking EX Mint 6 of Hall of Famer Gaylord Perry. Perry's a 5-time All-Star, won 2 Cy Young Awards, had his own rookie card in 1962, and then was on a 4-player rookie card in 1963, although technically it's not his rookie, which was his actual rookie year. Gaylord was best known for either throwing spitballs or making everybody think he was to get into batters and teams' heads. So we'll stick that there. That's a nice card there with a white letter variation. Next up, we got a run of 1957s. Richard picked up a nice lot of these while on vacation at a local card shop in Colorado. I think he picked up 300 plus, and these are some of the nicer ones, but they were all in pretty good shape. This is an EX Mint 6 for Dick Grote. Dick was the MVP in 1960, was a World Series champ in 60 and 64, 8-time All-Star, won a batting title. Just a very, very good, steady all-around player. He is the only member, and an excellent athlete, he's the only member of the College Basketball and Baseball Hall of Fames. He was a star All-American at Duke as a basketball player as well, and played one season in the NBA before he went into the military in 1953 and 54. When he came back in 1955, Branch Rickey asked him to not play basketball and focus on baseball, which he did. So Dick Grote, very nice, good clean backs on these cards. It's just really a nice find of about 300 1957s. And as you'll see, he did very well with these. Next up is Roy Sievers, just a really nice, well-centered card. Just a good-looking card. There's not much else to say about it. Sievers played 17 years in the majors, was the Rookie of the Year in 1949 with the St. Louis Browns. His best year was with the Senators in Washington in 57 this year. He hit .301 with 42 homers and 114 RBI. He had 318 homers and 1,147 RBI for his career. So again, really nice player, 17-year career, and a Rookie of the Year, though not in the Hall of Fame. Next, we have Bill Verdon. Got another near mint 7 on these. Both of these cards I kind of expected 6s and hope for 7s, and on these got the 7s on the last couple. Verdon was the Rookie of the Year in 1955. He did win 1 Gold Glove and was on the 1960 World Champion Pirates team. He played 12 years in the big leagues and also managed 13 years in the majors, primarily with the Astros in the late 70s and early 80s. So a nice long big league career both on the field and in the dugout. So a nice 7 there. Next, the best 57 of the group, Del Crandall Near Mint Mint 8. Really, really nice looking card. Crandall was just overall great color and not much to say other than just really, really minor wear on this card. He was 11-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glover, 57 World Series champ. He played 16 years in the majors and managed for 6 years, including 4 with the Brewers. And he managed the end of Hank Aaron's career and the beginning of Robin Yount as a rookie. So, again, Del Crandall, really good player, was kind of overshadowed by Yogi Berra and Roy Campanella in the 50s. One quick Evansville note, in 1949, he started the year there before getting called up to the big leagues and winning the Rookie of the Year award. But he played for the Evansville Braves in 1949 and then came back later in 1971 and was the manager of the then Brewers AAA club before he was promoted to and joined the Brewers Major League Club in 72 as their manager. So he played and managed both in Evansville at Bosse Field, where I grew up and played my high school and college games. All right. Now we got Bill Skowron, or Moose as they called him. Got a near mint 7. This one's 63-35 on top to bottom, 60-40 left to right, so a little bit off center, but still very nice card, nice surface. Just a very nice representation of a 1957 Topps. I fall in love with this set more and more every day, it seems like. I used to, it was my least favorite set of the 50s, but it has grown on me immensely. Just a quick note on Skowron. He was an 8-time All-Star, won 5 World Series titles with the Yankees. His career spanned from 1954 to 1967, and just a key part of those Yankees World Series championships. Next, we've got Andy Pafko with the Milwaukee Braves. 57. This one got a 4. Before I get into that, I'll just quickly add that Pafko's kind of claim to fame, if you will, is being the number 1 card in the 1952 set. which makes it an expensive card because it's difficult to find in good grade and high grade due to the habits of kids at the time and collectors at the time of storing cards in stacks with rubber bands around them. So the number one card and the last card of the sets you often got hit and were commonly hard to find in good grade because of that. That said, this is a beautiful card. It deserved a higher grade except for the fact that it has a wax stain on the back. And I gotta be honest here, I did not give that wax stain enough validity, if you will. I didn't think they would hit it as hard as they did. That's my mistake. I had down expect a 6, maybe even hope for a 7. I did have the stain in my notes. I just didn't really take it seriously enough, if you will. And so we got a 4 on it. Kind of missed my expectations, which I don't like doing. But nonetheless, especially from the front, it is a really, really nice looking card of Andy Pafko. Next is Don Newcomb. Don got a near mint 7 here. Again, right on the top of expectations. I had it expect a 6, hope for a 7. This one is 63-37 top to bottom, so a little bit off, but not too bad. Newcomb spent the first 2 years in the Negro National League, joined the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1949, was the Rookie of the Year that year. He was a 4-time All-Star. He did miss the 2 seasons, 52 and 53, for the military duty. Came back. He was the MVP of the National League in 1956 and the first ever Major League Cy Young Award winner. The Cy Young Award debuted in 1956 and there were only one given away. There was not one for each league, as is customary now. He went 27-7 with 268 innings pitched, a 3-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, a WHIP under 1, and an ERA plus of 131. So just a standout season that earned him both MVP and Cy Young Award, the initial Cy Young Award. All right. Next up is Ken Boyer. Again, another one of the current Hall of Fame candidates. On the current ballot, we'll know more about his status on December 8th. My hunch is that he probably doesn't get in at this point. It's possible down the road. I think he's got a good case. But he had a shorter career. He played 15 years, but really only first 12 or 13 as a starter. The last few years was a part-time player. But he was, the first half of his career, first 9-10 years were really, really strong. He was an 11-time All-Star, won 5 Gold Gloves, was the 64 MVP and World Series champ with the Cardinals. And strange enough, played his first game in 1955 against the Chicago Cubs, had a home run and 2 RBI, and played his last game against the Chicago Cubs as a player. And then he later managed the Cardinals for 2 or 3 years, right around 79 or 80. Oops, I'm sorry, I need to put that here. And I'm going to just go ahead and take down Bill Verdon too, so that I can show you a 1958 Brooks Robinson. Again, very nice example. We got a 5 on that. I had expect a 5, hope for a 6. I really thought a 6 was possible. This is a really, really pretty card. Just got some, corner touches, a little bit of that wear. And then the other culprit could be is the back centering is really tough, and I did fear that there was a possibility of a miscut designation there. There is a tiny little border. I don't know if you can see it, but ultimately, they could, if it was borderline 5-6, they could have used that as an eye appeal factor and knocked it down to the 5. But overall, still a really, really nice looking example of a card which personally I think is kind of ugly because of his facial expression. It's not my favorite Brooks Robinson card. Go ahead and move Del Crandall off. And those are the end of Richard's cards. Next are my 4. And then we're going to save the 75s through 79s for a second video. My first one is a National League Hitting Kings from 1959 and EX Mint 6. I picked this one up on eBay probably a year ago, maybe even more. Just a nice looking example. It is 63-37 both directions, so it is not centered perfectly. I think it still presents well. The color is good. The photo is clear. So that kind of makes it stand out in my eyes anyway. I'll leave the details about Willie Mays alone because we all know almost everything there is to know about Willie. I'll mention that Richie Ashburn is also a Hall of Famer. He had 6 All-Star seasons, won 2 batting titles. He was the consummate table setter and leadoff hitter. In over a 15-year career, he only had 29 home runs total. Yet he averaged 25 doubles, almost 200 hits, and 17 stolen bases. He hit .308 for his career with a .396 on-base percentage and a .778 OPS. So just a very, very solid player and your consummate table setter, if you will, for that era. All right, last 3 cards here. The next one is probably my favorite of the group, and that is the iconic Manager's Dream 62 with Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle. This one got a 6. It's got some white tip corners, and I'm sorry I'm not holding that steady. I don't know how well you can see those there, how that's focusing in, but those corners are still squared off. They're just a little bit to the colored wood grain border that's nicked off. As long as the corners are still sharp, typically speaking, that the grading is a little bit gives it a little bit of a pass until they start rounding. Then they hit it a little bit harder. Otherwise, great photo, great surface on this card. Really, really nice. It's well centered. Beautiful card. Obviously these are 2 of the best players of the game ever. They're 2 of the best center fielders ever. I will add that between the 2 of them, they combined for 5 MVPs, 44 All-Star nominations, 2 batting titles, 13 Gold Gloves. Mantle won a Triple Crown in 1956, leading the major leagues, not just the American League, in all 3 categories. And Mantle had 18 World Series home runs, which I do believe is still a record. Mays hit 660 home runs for his career, lasting a little bit longer, playing through the 1973 season. But beautiful card, happy to have it, and great looking card at that. So, and you can see the back here real quick. There is I'm going to call it a mark, but it's not a mark. That's basically from the printing process. It's a spray of ink, if you will. It's not a after-the-fact mark, so it does not get the mark designation because it was done during printing. Next up, another Dick Allen rookie, 1964. Dick Allen, John Hernstein. I'll stop and mention John Hernstein played for 4 or 5 years in the big leagues. Only played in over 100 games one time, so he's mostly a part-time or role player. But he did get 4 or 5 years in the big leagues. I thought he deserved at least a brief mention. This one got an EX5, which is the same as the card in the background there, as you can see. This one's got a little kind of a grayish tint to the white border, top, bottom, and sides. It's just got I don't know how well you can see it, but it's got kind of a little bit of what I'm going to call an overspray. It's just got almost like a fine mist of black ink that makes the white look gray. I didn't know what the heck they were going to do with this card. I had it listed from anywhere from a 4 to a 6, with even a note that I wouldn't be shocked if they knocked it all the way down to a 3 or gave it a print defect, qualification. But a 5's a fair grade on it. The card looks good. It just doesn't look as bright white on a border. And it just looks a little bit different. I figured it's worth taking a shot, especially since I think Dick Allen is going to make the Hall of Fame. Again, my opinion, we'll know on December 8th, but I think he's the odds-on favorite. In 2 different votes here in past years, he has missed being elected to the Hall of Fame by 1 vote. I think this is his time. So definitely a feared hitter. Let me slide this down here. I forgot to put Willie up here. Definitely a feared hitter in his time. And was an MVP in 72 and a 7-time All-Star. So, and for those that follow, he had a 156 OPS plus for his career, which for those of you not familiar with OPS plus, it's on base plus slugging percentage, and the plus part is in relation to the rest of the league, 100 being an average player. So his 156 means he was 56% better than the average hitter that year in the majors. Last card, Thurman Munson, 4.5 VGEX plus, beautiful card, beautiful centering, really nice and sharp all the way around, but we've got one corner that's just got too heavy of a ding, and I don't know how well you can see it. I'll kind of try to show you at a couple different angles. I don't know if the light's going to help or hurt there, but the bottom right corner there has just got enough of a ding that it's graded correctly. I was hoping for a 5. And of course, pie in the sky hopes I'd hope for a 5.5 because of how beautifully centered it was, but at the same time, I can't complain. It's a pretty solid ding, and unfortunately, I wish it were not like that because the rest of the card, including the back, is just very, very nice and very beautiful. It will take a really nice looking higher grade card to get me to upgrade this card down the road. So let me say something real quick about Thurman as a player. He was well on his way to, I believe, a Hall of Fame career. He was the Yankee captain, and unfortunately, he died in a plane crash during the 1979 season. But as a player, Thurman was a 7-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year in 1970, MVP in 1976, won 3 Gold Gloves and 2 World Series. He played in 30 postseason games, 16 World Series, 14 ALCS games, and he hit safely in 27 out of the 30 games. He had 46 total hits in 30 postseason games, including hitting safely in 15 out of 16 World Series games, hitting .373 in those. I think he deserves very, very strong consideration for the Hall of Fame, despite not having the career numbers of a typical Hall of Famer. If anyone saw him play, and I was young when he played, Thurman was as good as it got. And when it became clutch time, he was there, and there was a reason that he was the named captain of the Yankees. That's all of our cards for today. I'm going to, again, do a separate video on the 75s to 79s. I got some really nice high-grade cards there. Some great additions to my 75 card set. I want to thank you for joining me today. If you like the content, I know it went a little bit long, but please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already, if you'd like to see more of content like this. I love talking about the players. I love talking about the history. Today went a little bit longer, but at the same time, I wanted to give some of these players a little bit of due. Not all of them were household names, and I felt like it was important. Basically, to kind of shine a little light on their careers as well. So I hope you enjoyed it. Again, thank you for joining me. Share the video with a friend if you know somebody else who would like it. And please come back and visit me again. I look forward to spending some time again with you soon. Thank you.